and welcome to Park2Park podcast, where we compare theme park offerings from coast to coast. My name is CJ, and here's my co-host Alli. Alli, how are you doing?
Hey, it's Alli. I'm doing good. It's been a wild couple of weeks. We are through Thanksgiving and ready to roll for tonight. How are you?
I am doing well. I'm looking forward to tonight's conversation because we're doing something a little bit different. What are we doing?
So we're talking about Epcot and Animal Kingdom versus there's not really any, one single theme park that matches up to either one of these in California. So we're going to talk about some of the things that kind of align in
Right.
California.
And I'm curious if we see eye to eye on this. So let's start. We're gonna start with talking about what we love about Epcot and Animal Kingdom. So Alli, why don't you share what you love about both those parks?
So for Epcot, one thing is the food. You can experience like so many different cultures of food there. And like, I'll be honest, I haven't tried everything just because I haven't been there very much, but like I want to try a little bit of everything. Really love Test Track. You got to get me on those thrill rides. So I really love Test Track. The other Test Track. Um, the other thing that I like about Epcot is how in World Showcase, the people who work in the country's pavilion are from that country. So it's really the most authentic cultural experience you can get without actually going to those countries, in my opinion. So it feels like an authentic world tour without leaving Florida. So that's cool. And then for Animal Kingdom, I really like just looking at the Tree of Life. You can look at it for an hour and not see all the details. You can look at it for 5 hours and not see all the details. It's just a really humongous, fantastic work of art. And also Expedition Everest because thrill rides. What about you,
Yeah.
CJ?
Well, at Epcot, my answer I think is kind of similar to yours when we talk about World Showcase. I love how the experiences there are so unique and they're deep and it's layered, and I think the cast members being from those countries are a part of that depth. Now, unfortunately, because of COVID, a lot of them are not back yet. International travel and work is kind of difficult right now, but I really, really hope that they come back, because that does add such a unique flavor to everything that we love about Epcot. And then for Animal Kingdom, it's a unique park. Like you touched on the beauty of the Tree of Life, but and yeah, the Tree of Life is beautiful, and it is a work of art, like you said, but the park itself is also like, I think of the lands as the roots of the Tree of Life, and the lands have beauty that contribute to the overall beauty of the park, if that makes sense. I feel like each land has some authenticity to it, and I think it's really beautiful.
Now, in Southern California, if you want to get something similar to an Animal Kingdom experience, your best bet is probably going to be the San Diego Zoo and Safari Park. The San Diego Zoo opened in 1916 and it's about 100 acres, and the Safari Park, which is formerly the Wild Animal Park, opened in 1972. And I'm probably going to slip up and call it the Wild Animal Park multiple times
Me
because
too. That's what
yeah,
we grew up with.
that's all I ever knew it as growing up.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
full disclosure, I honestly probably haven't been there in at least 15 years. So it's been quite a long time. The Safari Park is 1,800 acres, and both of these are about 90 miles south of Disneyland in San Diego. And these are more of your traditional zoo experience, visiting exhibits, listening to zookeepers, explaining things. The Safari Park is, you can go on like a tram ride, almost like the safari tour in Animal Kingdom, and there's animal shows, but there's really not a lot of like rides like there is in Animal Kingdom. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But that's kind of the what we're sort of using as an Animal Kingdom like substitute per se
Yeah,
for this
yeah.
episode.
I would say in California, that's probably the most well-known. The San Diego Zoo and Safari Park are probably the most well-known animal institutions, zoos, whatever you want to call it. And they're big and they've been around for a really long time. I mean, 1916, that's over 100 years ago. So it's
Yeah.
it's it's very well known, not just in California, but I think around the world. And then for Epcot, that's even harder because Epcot worldwide is such a unique park. There's nothing really 100% the same. There's nothing similar. We'll talk a little bit about Westcot, which was supposed to be the West Coast version of Epcot. And then I guess like the equivalent in Southern California, and you can find this really in any major city, is there's ethnic neighborhoods, right? Like in Los Angeles, you've got Olvera Street for like the Latin American culture. There's Little Tokyo, Little Armenia, etc. Have you visited any of those areas?
I have not,
Okay.
actually.
Okay. I've been, it's funny, when I was a cast member at Disneyland, there was a contest to win like a double-decker bus tour of the neon signs in Los Angeles, and I happened to win, which was cool because I only picked like 25 cast members and we each got to bring a friend. So we were in this open air double-decker bus through LA at night so we could see the neon signs, but as part of that tour, we went through a lot of these little neighborhoods that I'd never been to before. So I remember seeing Little Tokyo and I saw Olvera Street and a couple other areas. And in San Francisco, I've been to Chinatown.
Mhm.
So I've experienced it a little bit. But let's talk about Westcott. We did some reading on Yesterland's website, and huge shout out. There's a series of articles by Sam Genoway. It's very, very good with pictures.
They wanted to do the wonders of living, the wonders of earth, and the wonders of space. So between the four regions, the four corners of the world, and those pavilions, they would have the seven wonders of Westcott.
Yeah, it sounded really cool. And I was reading on that article, there was like a boat ride that would have taken guests between those four regions of the world, kind of like the train goes around Disneyland or Magic Kingdom,
Mm-hmm.
and you could get off at any station and explore things. It sounded so cool, but unfortunately, what killed the project was financial problems, and there was a lot of community opposition. I remember in the article we read, there was a guy who was looking at the plans and realizing his business was like gone in these plans. He's like, whoa, 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 nobody ever talked to me about this, right? So
Yeah.
the community was really against it, unfortunately. And so plans got scaled down and changed around a little bit. And there was a meeting where Eisner asked some of his top talent, well, where do people go outside of Disneyland in California? And the answer was like, well, they go see sites in California. And that's kind of how California Adventure came to be. To kind of finish this off, I think really the only equivalent we'll find in California is these little ethnic neighborhoods that are kind of scattered throughout Southern California and the rest of the
Mm-hmm.
state.
So let's talk about the two parks in Florida. CJ, you are the queen of Epcot. So why
Thank
don't
you.
you
I'll wear that crown with pride.
why don't you give us some of the background about Epcot?
So it opened on October 1st, 1982, which was Magic Kingdom's 11th birthday. So next year it's going to celebrate a milestone birthday. So I hope that they do some cool things for that. And it's about 300 acres, which is about 2 times the size as Magic Kingdom. And in 2019, the annual attendance of that park was about 12 million people.
And for Animal Kingdom, it opened on Earth Day in 1998, so April 22nd of that year. And it's 580 acres, which is pretty big. And in 2019, they had just shy of 14 million visitors.
Yeah, I'm always, I read the stats like Animal Kingdom's the largest park, and then I realize, oh yeah, it's got that big savanna back there
Yeah.
that takes up a lot of room. And what surprised me was that in 2019 it was more highly visited than Epcot.
Well,
But
I do think part of that can be attributed to the World of Pandora, because that was still pretty fresh and pretty new then.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so Animal Kingdom's 580 acres, whereas we talked about earlier, San Diego Zoo is only about 100 acres, but the safari park is 1,800 acres.
Which that's
So that's
oof.
big. That's a big
Yeah.
park. I don't remember it being that big. And when we were kids, I remember we went a lot, but I don't remember like our strategy in going there. Like, did we do the whole park or did we just go to see the elephants or whatever?
I mean, San Diego wasn't exactly close. It was
Yeah.
it was a significant drive for us. So I feel like we would have done the full park just because, we're there. We may as well, do as much as we can before we have to drive the hour and a half back home.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't remember. I'll have to go back maybe the next time I'm in California, but all right, let's talk about how we get to the park. Epcot has a lot of options, and actually, Animal Kingdom and Epcot have something in common. They're the only parks in Walt Disney World with two entries. Epcot has the main entrance, and there's an entrance back by World Showcase. And then Animal Kingdom has the main entrance, and there's actually a Rainforest Cafe just to the left of the main entrance. And through the gift shop at Rainforest Cafe, there's another entrance there. So that's kind of a fun fact about the parks. But Animal Kingdom, your options are really limited for getting to the park. You can only take a bus or park yourself, like Uber or Lyft. There's no Skyliner, no boat, no monorail. It's very Animal Kingdom is kind of its own island out there. And then for Epcot, you can walk from the Boardwalk area resorts or Hollywood Studios. You can take a bus. There's a Skyliner, which stops at the World Showcase entry, kind of in the back of the park. Or you can take a boat from the Boardwalk area resorts and Hollywood Studios. And of course, there's a parking lot.
And at the San Diego Zoo, there is free parking. The safari park costs $15, and you got to drive there. There's not like a connected system
No.
like there is at any of the Disney parks.
No. But hey, free parking is pretty nice, and that $15
Yeah,
parking charge is less than what they charge at Disney, so there you go.
there you go.
And then if you plan to visit elsewhere, I mean, if you're looking for like a museum or like an ethnic neighborhood, you're gonna be paying who knows what to park there, right?
Yeah. You might get lucky and get somewhere that has free parking. You might have like a parking meter that charges by the hour. You might find a lot with a flat rate, but it honestly it varies by where you're going.
Yeah, and honestly, like if you're planning to explore museums and stuff outside of Disneyland to get some sort of cultural experience, I would really do your research on how best to get there. Because if you're like not used to driving in Southern California traffic and the freeways can be pretty intimidating, so it might be
Yeah.
worth it to take Uber or something. Public transportation in California is not that great, but yeah,
There's
worth it.
public transportation in California.
Yeah, it's kind of a scary, a scary thing to
Yeah.
do.
Driving and parking in LA can be a nightmare even for like locals, so it's really probably going to be worth your while to ride share somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. And safer too. There's been some like break-ins of cars and stuff, so it might just be safer to Uber. All
Yeah.
right, let's talk about the current number of attractions in each park, how many restaurants, how many lands, like all that kind of stuff. Let's start with Epcot. Go ahead and start us off here.
Oh, I thought you were the queen of Epcot, but okay.
I'm passing the crown now. It's your turn.
I'm honored. Um, so Epcot, there are 38 attractions, which includes art galleries, things you can do like visiting the manatees, which are my favorite ocean animal. Just fun fact about me. Um, for restaurants, there are 51 restaurants in Epcot, which just goes to show that my point about all the food in Epcot, like, that's strong. This doesn't count dining experiences like any of the festival booths, because there are a lot of festivals at Epcot and
Yeah,
fireworks
there's
packages.
there's only like 4 or 5 weeks out of the year where there isn't a festival going on. So
Wow.
yeah, yeah, there's a lot of festivals down here.
And then there are 4 lands at Epcot: World Showcase, World Nature, World Discovery, and World Celebration.
Yeah, these are fairly new names. They debuted right around the start of the 50th anniversary a couple months ago. World Showcase has always been World Showcase, but the other three used to be lumped together into Future World, which was divided into Future World East and Future World West. I'm not a fan of the new names personally. It just sounds a little weird to me, but maybe they'll grow on me.
You'll get used to them.
Yeah.
And then there's 16 entertainment options, which includes character encounters throughout the park. And there's actually a couple of nighttime shows: Harmonious, which is new, and Spaceship Earth, Beacon of Light, which I've never seen. And honestly, it just sounds like a bright beam coming off the top of Spaceship Earth. And I'm sure that's not what it is, but that's what it sounds like.
No, it's for the 50th anniversary. Each of the park icons has like a night mode, I guess we could call it. There's like a light show on the park icons. So on Spaceship Earth, they installed however many thousands of lights they installed on there, and they there's like a little music segment that plays and it lights up all these different colors and stuff. And I think most people who are Disney World regulars agree that that is the star of the 50th anniversary. Like Spaceship Earth at night is the lovely lady of Epcot. Everybody loves it. So there you go.
So tell us about Animal Kingdom.
So at Animal Kingdom, on the Disney website, when you sort by attractions, they list each animal section individually. So it sounds like a lot of attractions here. There's 43 attractions, which includes all those animals, and it's tough to be a bug. Restaurants, there's approximately 31. And then as far as lands go, we've got Oasis, Discovery Island, Africa, Rafiki's Planet Watch, Asia, Dinoland USA, and Pandora, the World of Avatar, for a total of 7. And I think what's interesting here is besides the countries in Epcot, this is another place where you can find lands based on a real place, right? Like Africa's
Mm-hmm.
real, Asia's real. I know when they were building Dinoland USA, they were looking at like roadside attractions, right? Like we've driven the deserts in Southern California and seen giant dinosaurs on the side of the road, some weird
Yeah.
roadside attraction, right? So that's kind of cool. And then entertainment, there's about 9 to 10 different options. And as far as nighttime shows go, they killed their nighttime show. It no longer exists. So all they have is the Tree of Life, Beacon of Magic. It's kind of hard to pull off a nighttime show there. They can't do the fireworks because of the
Mm-hmm.
animals. So, it tends to close earlier than the other parks. Personally, I count Pandora as its own nighttime experience, even though that's not like officially an attraction or a nighttime show. Like you got to go see Pandora at night when it's all lit up. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And then as far as animals go, there's about 2,000 animals representing 300 species, and their flora comes from every continent except for Antarctica. So you can see a lot of different animals, a lot of different plant life. It's a really cool park to have a wide variety of experiences.
And then when you go into Animal Kingdom, you enter in the Oasis, and from there you walk forward to Discovery Island, and it's kind of like a hub and spoke from there. So if you're standing on Discovery Island and you do the bird's eye view and everything's the clock, and Oasis, your entrance is 6 o'clock. Pandora is going to be your 7 o'clock. Africa is at 11. Asia's at 1. Dino Land is at 4 o'clock. And then Rafiki's Planet Watch is out beyond Africa, and you have to take the Wildlife Express train to get there. You cannot walk.
Yeah, that's kind of a cool feature, right?
Yeah, I've actually never been on it. Or if I
Oh,
did, it was in 2000 and I don't remember it.
I could have sworn you went there with us one time. Maybe
I
not.
haven't I've been to that theme park with you once since the year 2000.
Okay, I
Like,
thought we did that. Okay, maybe not. Um, I always get lost at Animal Kingdom. I think there's a lot of winding pathways and stuff, and I just get confused and lost.
I get
Um,
so lost in that park.
yeah, and like I don't know. The hub and spoke pattern does exist there, but it's so hard to see because it's not
Yeah.
compact. It's so spread out.
And there's a lot of like trees and like big plants that make it
Yeah.
like it's hard to find landmarks to guide yourself. Like you can't really see Everest.
Yeah, not
Like,
from all places in the park,
yeah.
right? It could very easily be blocked by a tree, right? And
Yeah.
then same thing with the Pandora Mountains. You can't always see those.
Yeah.
That's a good point because I feel like in the other parks you can always see some sort of icon to help get you back on track.
There's more landmarks for you to guide around, and
Yeah.
it can be hard in Animal Kingdom.
Yeah. And then Epcot is pretty easy to figure out. The front half of the park is very ride heavy, and the back half is all World Showcase, and that's very experience heavy. There's, a couple rides here and there. But the back half is situated around a lake that you walk around, or there's 2 boat launches that you can take to kind of shortcut the park. But yeah, for the most part, rides in the front, experiences and restaurants in the back.
Yeah, and the thing about World Showcase is it's just a loop around the lake.
Yep.
So as long as you remember which direction you are going, it's not hard to.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to get lost. If you get lost in World Showcase, congratulations, you've
You've had too many
lost.
drinks.
Like, yeah, you lost drinks around the world.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Let's talk about unique attractions at the parks. We kind of touched on the fact that these are unique parks in the Disney universe and in the greater theme park universe. But what unique attractions exist and what similar attractions are there?
So honestly, most of the attractions are unique. You're not going to find most of the same things in either of these parks as you would in, any of the California theme parks. So I thought it was easier to list the duplicates rather than list the unique attractions. So I'm going to talk about Animal Kingdom. So
Okay.
in Animal Kingdom, it's tough to be a bug. Used to be in Disney California Adventure. It was replaced in California with a variety of different shows. I think currently it's the Marvel Eternals preview. But it's
I thought that was demolished. I think it's been demolished now and paved
oh, has
over.
it?
Yeah,
Oh,
but you're right. For a while, they were doing
like
previews in
show
there.
previews. I know we
Yeah,
saw a Maleficent preview in the It's Tough to Be a Bug theater. So
yeah, yeah. Which is weird to me because there's other theaters in California Adventure. So why kick
yeah,
out the bugs for a Maleficent preview?
especially when it was still a Bug's Land. Like,
Yeah.
anyways, Disney made some choices.
Yes, they did.
Um, if you go on the dinosaur ride, it's the same track as the Indiana Jones ride at Disneyland. So different themes, but it's the same exact ride. Lots of twists and turns, and suddenly you are turning sharply and then dropping suddenly, and it's unlike anything you've ever experienced, I assure you.
Yes, and sometimes in my head when I ride dinosaur, I go through like the audio for Indiana Jones, and then I think tourists. Why did it have to be tourists at the end?
It's just programmed into you at this point.
It is, yeah.
At Rafiki's Planet Watch, you can go to the animation experience at Conservation Station, which if you've been to the Animation Academy in California Adventure, it's the same thing. You learn how to draw a Disney character. And Dole Whips, it's like the only other place in the continental US where you can get a Dole Whip. At Animal Kingdom, they will put alcohol in them. You can't get that at the Disneyland park with alcohol, but you can get them at the Disneyland Hotel with alcohol.
Fun times to be had at Animal Kingdom and the Disneyland Hotel. I
Oh my
think,
gosh, but they're so good. They're so good
yeah,
with the
they
rum in
are.
them.
Oh, they are. And you know what? I think the Polynesian also can do that. The Polynesian Resort can also do them with alcohol. So if you're not going to a park or you're not going to Animal Kingdom and you want your Dole Whip with rum, mosey on over to the Polynesian Resort.
And I'll say I'm not a big drinker. Highly recommend getting your Dole Whip with rum. It's really good.
Yeah, I agree. So at Epcot, there are some attractions that are pretty similar. Soarin' is exactly the same, except for the ending. In California, they fly over Disneyland. In Epcot, they fly over Epcot at the end. Turtle Talk with Crush is the same, exactly the same. Most of the country pavilions have these kind of museum-like experiences, very brief walkthroughs, and depending on what you're looking for in California, you can find, a lot of museums in California. You might not find like a Norwegian museum in California, but you might find a museum that has Norwegian things. You're
Oh, there's
thinking
I can't remember the name of the Solvang.
solving? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I
that
don't,
would probably be the most Scandinavian
yeah,
central that you could
yeah.
get in Southern California. And that's north of Disneyland by quite a
That's
ways. It's
like
north of LA.
It's like it's like bordering Central California at that
Yeah.
point. Yeah. But yeah, if you look far enough, you can find similar museum-like experiences. Naples in downtown Disney is a restaurant that is owned by the same parent company as Via Napoli in the Italy Pavilion, and their menus are very similar. Their pizza is pretty much the same. The atmosphere is obviously different, but yeah, by the way, that's the best pizza in the Disneyland Resort and the best pizza at the Walt Disney World Resort. So if you're looking for like good pizza, go to Via Napoli in Walt Disney World and go to Naples in downtown Disney. And it's actually an affordable meal because the pizzas are so big you can share them.
And I mean, it's almost like the Italians know what they're doing when they're making pizza.
Yeah. Yeah. We didn't talk about this next one, but I think we should touch on it. Test Track and Radiator Springs Racers are similar. They're not 100% the same at all because one of them is like build your own car and race it on a track, and the other one is like let's go on an adventure with Lightning McQueen that has a race at the end. So it's the same ride system, same concept. Nighttime experiences are similar. World of Color at California Adventure is hands down my favorite nighttime show in any Disney park. And then Epcot has Harmonious, which just premiered. They both are water shows at night with projections and lights. Epcot's has fireworks. World of Color does not do fireworks. Maybe on like New Year's Eve, they'll do a little firework thing. And the fact that portions of the park exist around a lake. That they both have that in common, right? World
Mhm.
Showcase is a big circle around the lake. And then in California Adventure, you've got Paradise Bay. Is that what they call it now?
It was well, it's Pixar Pier, and I think it was Paradise Garden Park. It's what
Yeah,
they call it.
it's gone through so many name changes. But anyways, the lake where World of Color is, you can walk around that, and there's shops and dining and rides all around it. There's some edutainment aspects that are similar, and this is a very, very, very small piece of edutainment. Obviously, a big part of Epcot is teaching you about like outer space, about growing vegetables, about experiencing different cultures. At California Adventure, there's a very small like garden area where there's little informational signs about growing wine. I'm sorry, growing grapes to make wine. I wish we could grow wine. That would be nice.
It sure would be
Uh,
easier.
yeah. Anyway, so there's like a little section over by Wine Country Trattoria restaurant about growing grapes. And then
And there's also some education over at the Redwood Creek Challenge Trail.
yep, they kind of go into some mythology over there. And I think near Grizzly River Run, there's a couple things about like water power, right? There's that
Yeah,
sign.
with
There's
they've
that
got the
sign that
water
says the
wheel.
steam donkey. Remember that sign?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a couple things here and there. Festivals, Epcot, that's like Festival Center, Festival Park. They have 4 festivals throughout the year. California Adventure just has 2. They do Food and Wine and the Holiday Festival. Epcot hosts the Candlelight Processional back in the America Pavilion in the Gardens Theater. It's an outdoor theater. At Disneyland, it's in Disneyland Park on Main Street, USA, on the train station. So it's similar concept. Disneyland's is on a bigger scale, in my opinion. Epcot also has some sea life. They've got manatees, dolphins, a whole bunch of fish, stingrays, sharks, lots of different sea life, and you can get a big dose of that down at SeaWorld San Diego or at the Long Beach Aquarium.
And speaking of San Diego, at the San Diego Zoo and Safari Park, there's not a lot of rides, but you can do a guided bus tour. There's a kangaroo bus to get around the park. The Skyfari aerial tram, which was built by the same company that built the Skyway at Disneyland. RIP. There's there's a tram and there's a carousel ride as well, and that's pretty much the extent of the rides at the San Diego Zoo and Safari Park.
Yeah, and I would say the rides that are there are not anything groundbreaking. Like
No.
at Epcot, there's some really cool, like Spaceship Earth. Where are you going to get that experience, right? Or Living with the Land. Where are you going to get that experience? There's like a bus. You can ride a bus anywhere. Like a Skyfari aerial tram. You can go on a lot of different aerial trams around the world. Some of
I'd argue that the Skyfari aerial tram is kind of the most unique because yeah, you say that you can like ride an aerial tram anywhere in the world, but I'm thinking like mountain resorts are kind of the main
That's
place where you'll
true.
see them. So
That's true. I feel like the Southern California theme park ones don't really exist too much anymore.
and then in terms of shows, there's a 4D theater and then all of the wildlife presentations that you would expect from a reputable zoo. Um, and then they are doing a really great job on the animal front. There's over 12,000 animals representing more than 650 species and subspecies at the zoo. And the safari park has more than 3,600 animals representing over 300 species. The zoo itself is also an accredited botanical garden, caring for more than 700,000 individual plants, representing 3,100 species. And the safari park has more than 1.3 million plants, representing over 3,700 species. So there's a lot on the plant and animal front at both the zoo and the safari park.
Yeah, and I love how they're both accredited botanical gardens.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's something that I didn't really think about, but like there's a lot of people who like to go see different plants and like to practice their photography and stuff, and that's a great place to do it.
Yeah. And I mean, thinking about nature, plants and animals go hand in hand. So it makes sense.
The circle of life. I don't think that's the circle of life.
I mean, the antelopes eat the grass. The
That's true.
lions eat the antelope. When the lions die, they become the grass. That's the circle of life.
Thank you. I just really wanted to say the circle of life at some point. Something interesting about the safari park and the zoo, the entry to get into those parks are pretty cheap. It's like $62 at the cheapest, or you can get both the San Diego parks plus SeaWorld for $165, which is a great deal compared to Disney. But there are a lot of upcharge experiences. If you want to do like a special cheetah experience or like a 90-minute like inside look tour, like there's a cat tour. Safari Park has a lot of different safaris that you can purchase. And there's an overnight safari experience as well as a zip line experience. There's a lot of different like add-on purchases. So if you're planning to go, like make sure you look at their website to see things to do and see if you want to add on those experiences because that'll definitely increase your cost for the day. And then just to note, all those parks that we talked about, Animal Kingdom, the zoo, the Safari Park, and actually Animal Kingdom Lodge, they're all accredited by the Association of Zoos and Aquariums. And the Seas at Nemo and Friends over at Epcot is accredited as well because they're an aquarium. And that's from a 2014 Disney Parks blog article. So it's pretty cool. They're all accredited. All right, Allie, now that we've got the facts laid out, it's time for the final showdown. Can we see eye to eye? Does one side stand out above the crowd? Allie, tell me your thoughts on everything we talked about today.
Okay, so like none of these decisions are ever easy. It's always an agonizing decision. And I think ultimately it comes down to what you want to do, what you want out of your vacation. I think Southern California is a great way to see Disney parks, and you can get down to the zoo, and you can experience a whole lot of different cultures and a whole lot of other things in LA. So if that's what you're looking for, then yeah, Southern California is the place for you. If you want to still get all those experiences without being necessarily at a Disney park all the time. But if you are diehard, hardcore, all Disney, all day, every day, live and breathe for the mouse, then Florida is kind of the place you want to be because you can get that grand cultural experience while never leaving Disney property. So, oh gosh. I guess my like decision on which I would choose is really telling about what kind of person I am. um the other part that's so hard for me to make a decision on like which I would choose is, I haven't been to the San Diego Zoo since I was maybe 13. Like it has been a long time and I know it has changed in however many years it's been. And I just I want to call it a draw. Can I do that? Am I allowed to do that?
How about we separate it out? Epcot versus cultural experiences outside of Disney.
Okay, for that, I would have to say Epcot because to me, not to disparage any of the other like cultural experiences in LA, but to me, Epcot, it's more authentic, it's more compact. I can get there walking very easily and I don't have to worry about, it's the street that I parked on safe. Did I have to drive through LA traffic to get there? So on that front, Epcot.
Okay, now on Animal Kingdom versus San Diego Zoo, Safari Park, and like SeaWorld, San Diego.
See, this is where it's even harder, like, because it's,
Mhm.
yeah, it's, guys, this is not an easy decision. I think I would have to go with San Diego, etc., just because there is, well, while yes, I am sad to be turning down my thrill ride of Expedition Everest, but there's so many more animals and it's more of a learning experience. And I feel like that's one of the big draws is the learning. Like you don't necessarily go to Animal Kingdom to learn, although you absolutely can. I just feel that the San Diego is puts the emphasis on that, and like all of the add-ons are kind of an afterthought of, oh yeah, I guess we're competing with Disney for like theme park traffic, so let's, add on some of these things
Yeah, like the
to
zip
like bring
line.
people in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I feel like I would have to give it to San Diego for that one.
Okay. You know what's interesting?
Tell me what's
I
interesting.
I think we see pretty much exactly eye to eye on this because I was thinking, if my purpose is to see animals, I would go with San Diego Zoo Safari Park, just because of the sheer amount of animals that you can see, right? And yeah, it's not highly themed like Animal Kingdom is. There's not necessarily a story like what Animal Kingdom has. The tram around the savannah goes on a paved route. You're not in a Jeep, but you're going to see a lot of animals there and animals that you can't necessarily see in Florida, like koalas and pandas and stuff like that. So I think solely for animal experiences, I'm going to pick the San Diego Zoo and Safari Park over Animal Kingdom. And I think the experiences there, the add-on experiences, are pretty good. Like there's this early morning cheetah experience, right? Like that's cool. You can spend the night in the safari park. That's also really cool. Um, I remember there was a show there that we saw. My husband and I went probably in, I don't know, 2015. And I remember there was a show where they like had a piece of meat or something that the cheetah wanted to eat and they like ran it along this track really fast so you could see how fast the cheetah runs. Like you're not going to see that at Animal Kingdom unless they bait it out, like yeah, they had to bait it out at San Diego, but you get to see that. And I feel like you're just not going to see that at Animal Kingdom. Animal Kingdom though is a great park, if you're looking for the whole package of an equal amount of animals, entertainment and rides. It's a great park. If you're looking
Mhm.
for the story and immersion, it's a great park for that. But if you're going strictly for animals, San Diego Zoo and Safari Park are going to give you more of that. And I think, that yes, the cast members at Animal Kingdom, the ones that work with the animals, they've got the background, they've got the knowledge, they've got the training. But I
Mhm.
get the impression that there's a greater percentage of employees at San Diego Zoo and Safari Park that are knowledgeable, whereas some of the cast members you encounter are like they're doing the up wilderness explorer thing and they might not know everything, you know? I mean, it's a hard choice. I don't want to like put anybody down on either
Yeah.
side, you know?
I mean, look at us. We both love Disney. We do both love Animal Kingdom,
Mhm.
but just we're trying to not let our biases cloud our
Yeah.
decision making in
This
this entire podcast.
this is so hard.
Yeah.
And I will give San Diego some props because you can take the train pretty easily from Anaheim area down to San Diego. So it's
Mhm.
not a big pain like getting to LA is. Okay, so for Epcot versus the rest of California, you said something about the experiences like in LA might not be very authentic. And I'm going to disagree with you on that. I think they are more authentic because you have people whose families have moved here, however many generations back, and they're keeping those traditions within that community. They're starting businesses that reflect those traditions, opening restaurants, whatever. Like, I think that's a pretty authentic experience. I know, like, in Little Armenia, there's Armenian churches you can go to and stuff like that. So I think that you can find those authentic experiences in these neighborhoods throughout California.
Yeah, and I will say I have not been to any of those
Right.
neighborhoods, so
Yeah.
I cannot truly speak to their authenticity. So if I implied that they weren't authentic, that was not my intention. I just meant to imply that Epcot might be a little bit more. So
Okay.
apologies if I came out not as intended. Just want to set the record straight.
Well, maybe I misunderstood you, but um, but I do totally agree with you that like when you go to LA and parts of San Francisco, you have to watch out. Like I'll be very honest, there's a lot of crime in these areas. As a woman going by myself, I would not feel safe. I would not leave anything in my car. You don't leave phone chargers out or any bags or suitcases or anything at risk of your car being broken into. And that to me just doesn't sound like a fun experience. And it's really unfortunate that a lot of LA is experiencing this kind of crime. And um, it's scary. I don't really want to go up there. And the public transportation is scary. The metro is not a safe place to be. And so that kind of just makes the whole experience not as good as it could be. And it truly is very unfortunate. So for that reason, I'm going to pick Epcot for cultural experiences. And the other thing I think that we need to consider is the cost. Like there's, I think 11 or 12, I always get that mixed up. So about a dozen countries at Epcot that you can experience their culture. And yeah, you're not experiencing everything about their culture, but I've listened to a lot of podcasts and read a lot of books about the construction of the park, and the Imagineers did a really great job of researching the culture and making it authentic, and they brought in people from those countries. I mean, the country of Morocco funds that pavilion. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's a very authentic place. And so what you are seeing, I think, is authentic. Is it the whole picture? No, absolutely not. And you cannot get the whole picture unless you spend a week or more in that country. And that's very cost prohibitive for a lot of people. Yes, Disney is expensive, but spending a week in each of those 11 countries is really expensive overall.
Yeah.
So if you're looking to get just a taste of things, I think Epcot is a great place to do it, and it's safe. You got to watch out for the crazy people drinking around the world, but I don't have to worry about my car being broken into or being mugged on the street like I would in LA or San Francisco. So while it does show cultures through Disney's lens, and you're only seeing what they want you to see, I think it's a great start.
So a question on that, doesn't like each, I'm forgetting what they're called, but each country represented have
Pavilion.
like, yeah, doesn't each pavilion and the country that it represents, like, doesn't the country get like a say in what goes there?
Originally, I think they did. Yeah, like they had a pretty big hand in it. Nowadays, I'm not 100% sure because, these contracts were negotiated like 40 years ago. So,
Mm-hmm.
so who knows how they've been rewritten and everything. But I know like the King of Morocco sent over architects and artists to help put together the architecture in the Morocco pavilion. There's authenticity to be found at Epcot, like true authenticity to be found at Epcot,
Mm-hmm.
which I think a lot of people maybe overlook. Well, thank you guys for joining us as we discussed Animal Kingdom and Epcot and California equivalents. So what do you guys think? Do you think Animal Kingdom or other zoos and aquariums in California offer a better experience? What about Epcot? Do you think there's equivalent in California somewhere, or do you think Epcot does it better? We talked about a lot of different things here, and we got a little controversial, which I think is a good thing. But we really want to hear what you guys think. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter at Park2Park Pod with the number 2. You can email us with questions, feedback, future episodes, ideas, and more at Park2ParkPod@gmail.com. Again, that's with the number 2, Park2Park Pod. And if you send us in a question or a comment, we might read it on a future episode. So don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you listen to podcasts, and follow along on social media.
Yeah, thanks for joining us again for this podcast. Next time, we're going to talk about the shopping districts that Disney has. So there's Downtown Disney in Anaheim and Disney Springs in Orlando. So we're going to do a comparison of those.
Should be fun. See you next time.